Hey guys, how's it going? It's Logan with Hydra 572. Got a blade to review. Today is the Kershaw Clash. The intended usage of this knife was EDC utility and emergency defensive. Price point $25 on Blade HQ, not including shipping, $22 shipped from eBay. The blade profile, as you guys can see, is a slight little recurve. You guys know I love recurves. The tip is pretty acute, enough so to do any fine cutting that you may need to do, not enough so that I think it's a real breaking concern unless you abuse the knife pretty heavily. The belly, you're going to have plenty, even with that slight recurve. It'll have enough power to do any cutting task that you have to ask of it for a knife in this size range. So yeah, the profile overall, I love it. As we launch into steel and grind, I'll put some footage in of the cardboard cut testing that I did with this knife. The steel is 8CR13 MOV. I found that the retention was pretty good. The sharpening was really easy, actually. It only took maybe 20 passes on the sharp maker to take it from real dull back up to hair shaving sharp. The grind is a little bit abrupt, especially for as thick a stock as this knife is. I think that's probably why we saw reduced performance in those cut tests. As you guys can see, it is a pretty thick stock for a knife this size. The deployment is flipper only, which is kind of lame. It works, it's not a problem, but I would always like to see a wave or a rotational opening available, and here we only have the one option, but it works well. I'll annotate in the first impressions video that I did. You guys can see that it, out of the box, deployed relatively hard, and it still does. It's still pretty firm, so that's alright. Like I said, it works. The lock is a jimped liner. It wore in pretty well. As you guys can see, it is still less than 50% after quite a bit of usage. Had the knife since Christmas time. We're now almost in June. It's easy to get at with your thumb. And yeah, play. It's got a little bit side to side and a little up and down. It's no concern that it's going to close on your hand. I think, unfortunately, that's just something you have to deal with in this price range. Material is glass-filled nylon. It's got a cool backspacer made out of, I assume, the same material. The liners, the material is not given, but you know, they're steel liners, and they're pretty cool looking, I think. The ergonomics are decent. We've got this weird little last hump here that I wish was different. I wish either the knife was a little bit longer or that it trailed off a little bit narrower. I might make that modification in the future, we will see. And in the cardboard cut tests, I did find that the shoulders of the knife were a little bit hard. I wish they'd been melted a little more. My hand did get a little bit sore around the corners of the knife. But again, that's just something that you have to deal with when you're talking about a knife this cheap. Everything like that's going to add cost, so it's definitely not a problem. The grip in gloves was pretty bad, again, because it was a small handle and because of the way that that last hump is. The handle is pretty thick, especially for a knife this short, and I like that. I know some people won't, but I do. The texture, it looks cool and isn't very functional in reality. Most of the grip that you're going to get on this knife has to do with the way the handle is built, as opposed to what these little lines that are molded into the polymer have to do with it. The jimping is basically a joke. In all honesty, I don't understand why we have jimping here. As you can see, it's just this little patch. Doesn't even provide any grip for your thumb, so you're going to want your thumb to be more in this area. So not sure why we did that. In all honesty, it would have been better just to not have it at all, and maybe have the knife come out a little bit cheaper. The clip, as you guys can see, it is noticeably broad in this dimension. It's right side tip up and tip down, no left side, sorry. Not sure why the clip had to be this broad. It doesn't bother me, except that I'm concerned that having the clip this way might be why we have this little last hump that kind of messes with the ergonomics. So yeah, I'm not sure what was up there. If I do modify it, I'll probably have to take away one screw off the clip. I'll make that cut. The presentation, like I said, check out the first impressions video. It came in pretty sharp. I'd say exceptionally sharp for a $20 knife. Bead blast on this blade that doesn't rust. That's nice and impressive. Some people are going to say that the handles feel cheap. I think in this price range it's a pretty cool handle. I'm not too worried about it feeling plasticky or cheap because there aren't a lot of competitors in this range that aren't going to feel kind of plasticky and cheap. The quality, again, you know, it's alright. It's pretty good for this money that you're paying. It's certainly not put together like a $100 knife is going to be put together. There's some play. You're going to have to tighten the screws more often than you would on a more expensive knife. You know, that's just the way it is. You're getting cheaper hardware. on a knife that's for this much money. So that all said, the value is still pretty dang good. I think for $20 it would be easy for people to go out and buy a Gerber or something like an Appalachian Trails knife at a Home Depot, and this is going to serve you considerably better than that. So I think it still gets a pretty resounding good review in the value department. As far as this knife's competition, well, in this price range and this usage philosophy, we have the Bird Cara, the Buck Bantam and the Vantage, the Sogzilla, the Sog Fusion, and the CRKT Drifter, and honestly a bunch of CRKTs that I couldn't be bothered to check into too much. They have a lot of knives in this price range. Pass fail, I'm going to go ahead and give it a pass. Like I said, you know, in this price range you're not going to be getting extreme quality, but for this much money I think it's an excellent knife. Better than what most people would get if they walked into a Walmart, or even worse, like an REI, and intended to spend $20 on a knife. I think you would have good luck to walk out of the store with this. If you're a collector who's just looking at putting more value options into his collection, then this is going to be similar to other Kershaws that you may own, and they make good knives in this price range. So yeah, I think that's definitely a pass as far as a budget EDC knife goes. For emergency defensive, it's certainly not ideal to have a knife this small, but you know, you're hopefully not buying this knife intending to defend your life with it. But if it was all you had, I think you could use it rather effectively to protect yourself. So yeah, overall a pass. The stats: the overall length is 7¼ inches. The handle length is 4¼ blade length is 3, blade thickness is 1/8 inch, and the knife weighs 4 ounces. So there's the review. The Kershaw Clash is a cool little budget EDC folder. Hope you guys have enjoyed this video. Thank you guys for watching. Stay tuned for more of the same.